Good morning, fellow Plexers. Today's video goes out to abbellie2, if I'm pronouncing that right, from Reddit, who has both a Western Digital and a Synology NAS, and they're trying to get access to their files on the Synology NAS um, because they know it's a better server than the older Western Digital one. So I want to talk about that first. So their NAS is a DS920 Plus. A lot of people think it's an old processor. It is. It's a 9th gen Celeron. It's a J4125, but it still has a very capable Intel UHD graphics 600 iGPU. Now their older Western Digital NAS is powered by this N3710 Intel CPU, and it has an HD graphics 405. Now my older Synology NAS that we'll be using as the test today is a DS1019 Plus that has an HD graphics 500 iGPU, a little bit better than what's in this HD or this Western Digital NAS. But the whole point of the video is to set up Plex correctly on the Synology NAS. And abbellie2's problem is that they lack permissions to see their media, and we'll show you how to do that with a new Plex server install. So I run multiple servers just so I can set up for this, and I deleted and install on this older NAS, which is my backup NAS to all my media on the newer NAS. So first off, I want to talk about folder structure. So let's go into File Station. You should have one and only one shared media folder. There's a lot of tutorials out there that show creating a shared folder for music, a shared folder for movies, and a shared folder for TV shows. You want one shared folder with network storage, whether it's Synology or QNAP or TerraMaster or even an Unraid self-install NAS OS. One shared media folder. This sets you up for the future if you ever graduate to a trash guides install. That's automation using either torrents or Usenet. It's something I can't really show on the channel because I don't want anything to do with piracy that might take my channel down, but I can certainly show you the supporting structure. So I've got something going on that I should just get rid of. Let me get rid of this so it doesn't bother me. Let me pause the video. All right, I'm back. Sometimes I have little mistakes from previous videos that I don't clean up before I do another one. So one shared media folder, and just in case you have a trash guide set up down the road, you should consider a nested structure like I use. So I have a sort folder for each of Plex's library types, movie libraries. And you don't often have multiple music libraries, so this is an actual music library folder and not a sort folder. But you might end up with a lot of different other video libraries. You might end up with multiple photo libraries. And you might end up with multiple TV show libraries. So say you had an anime TV show library, a kids or a cartoon TV show library, and your main one. And then maybe you had 3 for your movie libraries, a main one, a kids one, and maybe a 4K one. And then you had a music library. And then you had 5 or 6 different photo libraries and maybe 1 or 2 other video libraries. All those library folders would be flat under the media shared folder. Well, it's a lot neater if they're nested. If you're going to have multiple movie libraries, create a sort folder for those. Plex will point at this level, not this level. Same for TV shows. If you have an anime library separate, this is where that library is pointing to, this structure, while your main TV show library will point to this. And this advice is passed on from Matt Peterson, the admin of the Dockerholics Facebook group. When using Dockers, try to avoid uppercase letters or spaces in your folder structure. So if I jump into this 4K folder structure, you'll see I return to uppercase and spaces for the actual Plex movie folder name and for the file names. But everything above that, no spaces, no uppercases. So you don't have to copy my structure exactly, but a nested structure lets you grow for the future. And now we're going to talk about the trash guides. Sonar is the program that looks for new TV show episodes. And it's much easier to set it up to pull for both a kids and a regular movie library if it's nested, because you point the Sonar Docker container at this level and then it can see anything below it. And then these are considered their own folders that you can set Sonar up to pull one show to go in here, another show to go in here, and then a third show to go in here. Just, it's good to have this nested structure before you get to that advanced state, because you don't have to make any adjustments that are major later on to rescan all your libraries. So just trust me, this nested structure works nice. Avoid spaces and avoid uppercase letters. And along with the trash guides install, especially on a Synology NAS, SOB NZBD is one of the acquisition folders, and its landing folders should be set up like this, and this SOB NZBD folder should be within the media folder. This is very important for an efficient setup. If a raw file lands here, and then Sonar sees it and renames it, moves it into this structure, because that file is being moved and renamed in one shared media folder, that movement is instant. If you had a separate SOB NZBD shared folder, and then you had to move a raw file from that shared folder to this shared folder, that's a copy and delete process, just like moving a file from one hard drive to another. If you move a file on a regular computer within its hard drive, it's an instant move because only its location in the file system gets updated. And it's the same principle here. So a lot of guides will have you create a shared folder for this, a shared music folder, a shared movie folder, a shared TV show library folder. And if you get to the advanced trash guide setting, it just makes everything slow down like molasses flowing because of the file transfers being so slow. And the trash guides calls this proper setup atomic or instant move. So one shared media folder sets you on a good path. It creates a good foundation for everything you might do later on. So got to get that out of the way. And the next thing to pop into would be for Synology NAS users specifically. Don't trust me, trust Will at his Spacerex channel. He has been invaluable to getting a NAS set up right. I bought the DS1019 Plus first, and I did not find Will. I did not find Plex's wonderful support articles. So basically with Plex, if somebody tells you to do something and it's not supported here, don't do it. Do what's supported here. Ask me. I don't do anything that's not supported here. And if I don't know the answer to a Synology question, Will is the guru that I consult. So he's got a new NAS setup video. So abbellie2, if you haven't followed that, I would skim through this video first.
Those basic things.
Skim through this and make sure you're set up, because if you don't have a Plex server set up yet, even if you have to redo the Synology NAS to get things right from the bottom up, copy media back to it, start fresh with a solid foundation. Will tell you how to disable the default admin account and create your own. He'll show you things like not allowing attempted logins from outside of your own country. Just everything you could want. He'll show you how to get your NAS set up the best way. A great foundation for the Synology NAS, then followed up by a great Plex foundation. just sets you well for the future. So I just wanted to talk about that. And again, don't believe anything somebody says if they can't back it up with a support article from Plex itself. Okay, so let's get into the Synology NAS. We have to go into Package Center, and there's two ways to install Plex. You can go into the settings, and from package sources, you can add this URL and name it anything you want. I just named it Syno Community. You could name it Synology Community. And this allows you just to go in and search for Plex. And you can just install it. But this is going to be an older version. So as soon as you install it and get it set up, you'll have to update it. So you might as well start with a new version of Plex. Let me back up here. So let's start fresh here. Let's start right from Google. Search for Plex downloads. And let me pause this. So abbellie2, if you're not already running Synology DS920 you don't have a Plex server yet, make that upgrade, because if you've had the NAS for a while and only started using it recently, you might be running DSM6, which I doubt you are. But the Plex installer under DSM6 changed with permissions and the way the folder structure was for the server application files between that and version 7 of DSM. And there's actually 3 versions of Plex for Synology: DSM6, DSM7, and DSM 7.2.2. So you don't have a Plex server yet, you might as well make sure you're up to DSM 7.22, and that refers back to Will and all his guidance. So when you go to plex.downloads, search for it, you find this, you'll come up with whatever OS your system is running. So just change it to the version of Synology you're running. If you have a Plex Pass, you'll also see the beta releases. You don't want that, just choose the regular one. And for a DS920, it'll be an Intel/AMD 64-bit. I've already got it downloaded. So now we go back to DSM. And let me back up once more. So at this page, you choose Manual Install, select the file. Let me go to Downloads. You'll see my messy download folder. Select that. Click Next. Agree. It's a third-party package. Now, I never bother with a claim token. You'd have to have an existing server to get the claim token while it's running. It's just too easy to claim a reinstalled or a new server. So I don't bother with any of that. Here's the package version. It's newer than what the community had. And I'll let it run after installation. Well, actually, I should have shown something first. Maybe I can do it quickly. Well, it's too late. This created a shared folder. We'll show you the shared folder after it created. This is important. Whatever OS you're running, screenshot this and save it for reference on what we're going to do shortly. Click OK. There's no sense opening Plex yet until you give Plex permission to your shared media folder. And that's what we'll do next. And that's what the instructions were. So you open Control Panel and select Shared Folder. Now you highlight your shared folder and you click Edit. Then you click Permissions. I have to take this off screen. Otherwise, I'll give away my admin account. So then you switch from local users to system internal users, and now I can bring things back on screen. Because I already had this installed and had set permissions, even though I uninstalled the Plex package fully, it remembers that I've granted permission to this folder that disappeared, and now that it reappeared, I still have permissions granted. So this is simply Plex Media Server. You click Save, you'll have to enter your admin password because I didn't make any changes I didn't have to. So once you get past that, you're all set. Now you can open up Plex and you can do it right from the package center. And this may or may not work. Let me get prepped for this. All right, I want to move this off screen. Okay, so because I'm signed into DiskStation, DSM, with my Quick Connect address, I'm being directed to Plex via that Quick Connect address. So I can't show that because if I show you what's going on next, it's going to show you my URL for the Quick Connect. So instead, we're going to refer to this opening Plex web app support article. So if Plex was installed on your local Linux or Windows PC and you're using a web browser in that PC, you could use either of these options, either localhost option. But because this computer is locally remote from my Synology NAS, well, that doesn't even make sense. It's not remote, it's just not on this system. I'm using this desktop system and my Synology NAS is another device on the local network. I need this, so I'm going to copy this, and I've already got it into a text article. Got a couple things here. Let me just get prepped for it. Okay, so this is what I want to name the package. I want to name it the same thing I had it before I deleted it. This is the local IP address of my Synology NAS. So let's show abbellie2 how to find that with DSM. You could look in your router settings to find it too. But you go to Control Panel, you go to Network, and you click on Network Interface, and this is your IP address. Now, you can set a static IP address for this, and Will at his Spacerex channel with his new NAS setup will show you that. Or you can simply go into your router settings and reserve the IP address in the settings of your router. Either one works. But this is the local IP address. So I already had that in this little scratch pad. So this is what I copied from the support article, and then I'm just reproducing it. So let's show you how to reproduce it. Let's get rid of that. So we're going to copy this just to have a second line of it. Then I'm going to copy my local IP address for the server, then paste it into this section. And that's what you pop into your URL of your web browser to claim the server. So basically right now I'm done with DSM. I'll minimize that window. I'll open up a new URL in Chrome. Up here, I'll paste in this, hit enter, and this is what you want to see, the how Plex works. I'll choose got it. Now, because I want to rename it the same way I had it before I deleted that server, I'm going to copy that, give that the name, hit next. Now it will ask me about adding new libraries. And remember, it was pretty easy to give permission to that shared folder. Now I won't have access to my media outside my home until I tell the server what port I've used to forward. But so now this add library step, this is where abbellie2 has their block. So let's add a movie library. I'll call it movies for my main movie library. Browse media, and abbellie2 could not see past volume 1, I can slide down and I see that shared media folder. Now, I did not give permission to the Docker folder. So I couldn't add anything in that folder. Not that you'd want anything in that folder anyway. What else do I have here? Volume 1. So without giving permission, I really can't see anything in this folder. Not that I want anything from that folder anyway, but I can share, or I can see inside this folder. So if I go into my movie library sort folder, and then I click on the movie main subfolder, now I see the structure that I need to see. So this is where I just click add. And most new Plex server owners aren't aware of the advanced settings options, and I always want to mention that. So at TMDB, let's talk about that first. And the movie database. The movie database and IMDb are the two source IDs for a Plex movie library. But things are weighted towards TMDB. So let me search for Back to the Future. So I'll click into the first movie, and if I slide down, there's a collection here. So if I view the collection and slide down, here are the movies that are part of that collection. So the movie database has many movie collections listed officially, which, if we go back to Plex and go into the advanced settings when we're creating the library, there's a collection line. There's a minimum automatic collection size. By default, it's disabled. If you set it for 1, any movie that is part of a collection will have the collection built for it. I like to set it for 2, which means as soon as I add a second movie that's part of a collection, then that collection gets created automatically. And then this gives you options of how things are displayed with collections, but we won't go into that here. So now I'll add a TV show library. And I don't want to add the main structure. I want to add the structure that's labeled kids and name it TV show cartoons, because that highlights an important option for how you create TV show libraries. I'll hit next, I'll browse, I can click on volume 1, slide down, and I'll see my media shared folder. I'll go into the TV-library sort folder, and I'll pick the folder labeled TV-kids. And I see there's only one show. This is important because this is not at TMDB, it's only at TVDB. So I'll click add, and I'll have to go into the advanced options because by default, episode ordering comes from the movie database, which is always an ordered listing. I name all my media from TVDB for TV show media, so I need to change to the TVDB, and this option is also aired ordering, even though it doesn't say so. So let's add this the wrong way, TVDB, or the movie database. I'll click next, I'm done. Let me click into the settings. I'm on the correct server, it's running. I'll click libraries, and I'll go in here. And let's see what we have. All right, you see how it knows there's a show. It knows it's season 1930, but none of the episodes are named. And if I pop into one, there's no description. So let's stop right here. Let's get TVDB going. We've already got TMDB up. Let's search for Looney Tunes. Now, under the TV show heading, we have this 2015 show, this 2012 show, 2020, but we don't have what I want. So if I go to TVDB and I search Looney Tunes, I have this one from 1929, but of course there was no TV back in 1929. So the versatility of the TV database is that a lot of entries have an aired ordering, and remember, TMDB is only aired, but there's also an alternate DVD order for many shows. If a show was never released to DVD or Blu-ray, it won't have an alternate order. So aired ordering, we name the season folder for this one episode, season 1929, and this would be the formatting. So it'd be the show name space dash space S1929 EO1 space dash space Bosco the Talking Kid .mkv or .mp4 or .avi. So these are all old movie shorts that TVDB allows to be reorganized as a virtual TV show, because the only way to do this with the default settings would be to add this short cartoon as a movie, and it'll be listed at both IMDb and TMDB as a movie. So you're not getting this in a TV show library unless you name it to TVDB naming. So I recommend, with someone brand new to Plex, ignore everything but TVDB and name everything to that database. And when you install the library, you can globally set episode ordering to TVDB, or if you're committed to TMDB naming and you want to add a show like this at the show level, not the season level, you can go to the advanced settings and change episode ordering to TVDB aired. Either will work, but seeing that abbellie2 has a brand new Plex server to start setting up, I would get all the media straight first. And normal shows, the entries match at both TMDB and TVDB 99% of the time. So it's not like you have to go in and rename. If your library has 15 TV shows, most likely you don't have to rename them. It's these special shows that are like this. So let's fix this library up at the global level. Advanced, change episode ordering to TVDB. It's going to rescan, but it doesn't hurt to refresh the metadata. You'll see the posters change because they're different. Well, they're not different. It didn't exist at TMDB, so it just used the show poster for the season posters. There are actual season posters at TVDB. So if we click in, we now have the episode name and we'll have a description. So I just can't help but talk about the importance of this. Let's search Ken Burns. This is another favorite of mine. I love the Ken Burns documentaries. So if I do TV shows, we'll see things like Baseball from 1994, The West from 1996, The Civil War from 1990. They're all at TVDB too. So here's the same Ken Burns series, but we have a special entry here. It's virtual. So Ken Burns Films 1981. This was never a TV show. It's virtual. And if we go into 1990, here's the Civil War episodes. So you can name your show folder Ken Burns Films with, I think it's 1983 is the year, or 84. And then you would have season 1990, not the Civil War, just season 1990. And then the episodes would be named Ken Burns Films with a right year, space dash space, S1990 EO1 space dash space, the Civil War, the cause, parentheses 1861. The only thing you have to remember is, just like any show, remove illegal characters like a colon. You'll find a colon a lot in this type of content. Um, and that is just versatility you can't beat. Tom and Jerry cartoons are old movie shorts. Can't think of the name of the show. I've got a video on it. It was on Netflix about serial killers, and the second season at TMDB was considered a new series, but at TVDB it was just season 2. So there's a lot of cohesion and a lot of flexibility at TVDB. And the last example I'll talk about is the Bionic Man, or the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. I didn't know this until somebody had trouble and I investigated it for them. I think of crossover episodes like you'd see with the Arrowverse shows. Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, that kind of stuff. Well, there was a crossover with the Bionic Woman and the $6 Million Man. 3 episodes in a row. The first episode was on the Bionic Woman, the second one was the $6 Million Man, and then the third one finished up at the Bionic Woman. If you look at the entry at TMDB, you wouldn't know about the connected entries or shows for each, connected episodes for each show. At TVDB, the Bionic Woman one includes the single show from the $6 Million Man. So you can make a copy of that show and put it into your Bionic Woman folder. Unfortunately, the entry for the Bionic, or the $6 Million Man, didn't include those 2 episodes from the Bionic Woman. So it's not perfect, but at least for the one show between the 2, it's a nice episode flow. So anyway, always use TVDB for the examples I've used, and you might find it better if you're an anime collector also. Okay, so what's left? Let's go back into Plex. So TVDB is my preference, but if you've got a big library, you can actually change it at just the show level. I might have shown this already, to name to TVDB or DVD if you're naming off a DVD entry. What else do you want to show abbellie2? So I don't have remote access set up. I have a remote access video you can search on my channel that'll walk you through how to do that. You want to make sure you're set up for transcoding. So by default, these settings were checked, but it doesn't show my device. It's set to auto. So I'm going to change it to the transcoder or the iGPU. And of course, yours will say UHD graphics 600. I'm going to save the changes. And this iGPU is too old to see the new options that you'll see. So let me switch servers to Plex running in a Docker container on my DS920 Plus NAS. And let me all right, so now this is set up. As you would see, you'll have this additional option, enable HEVC video encoding. Change that to always. When you save the changes, you'll have this last option to check, save changes, and now you'll be set up. And now I want to use this NAS for the last bit of the video. Let's go to dashboard. And I'm going to start up the HTPC client app. And I want to show you something from let's see, let's go into that server. And this Docker container is pointing that media off this SSD volume. That's a whole other story. I'll go into this structure. And everything's public domain on my test servers except for this one movie, because this is my highest bit rated HEVC 4K Dolby Vision file with a complex audio stream, and it's also the largest file I have. I have a small 4K movie library for mostly testing, but this is great for testing out hardware acceleration. You see it's almost 90 gigabytes in size. So, let me get the HTPC client app set up. I'll show you a part of it. Let me go find that other server. Nope, it's this one. And it's that movie. I've got the sound turned down, but let me start this complex, big HEVC 4K movie. So you see it starts up in dashboard. Let me zoom in a little bit. So it started up as a transcoded stream because that's where I left it. We know we're using hardware acceleration because it says HW. And it's being transcoded from an HEVC stream to an HEVC stream. If we didn't enable those extra options, this would say H264. And we see the audio is also transcoding. So let me take this stream back into a direct play. And on anything, it'll start up instantaneous. So on my default server that's running on a 14th gen mobile i5 processor, it's of course faster. It's just about instantaneous when I do this. So let's just count it off. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, and the video starting. This is capable hardware that you have with your DS920 Plus when it's set up correctly. And now local streams don't need to transcode unless your local wireless network is inefficient and you don't have the bandwidth for a high stream like this. Let me take this back out of transcode. And we'll look here. This is 104 megabits per second. When this video is added to a server for the first time, it reports a bit rate of 195 megabits per second or 196. So I think initially it gives you the highest bit rate. So depending on the scene, whether it's light with a lot of action or dark without a lot of action, the bit rate is different. So once it's indexed after a while, this is the average bit rate. Unfortunately, those are just educated guesses on my part. I haven't found a support article that supports that, but it's pretty obvious what's going on. So if your local wireless network is using an old router and you don't have a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band, you're not going to direct stream this media locally. So you need the Plex server set up correctly, you need your local network set up correctly, and if you're streaming to a TV that's plugged in with an Ethernet cable, there's not a TV that's been made that's had a gig Ethernet port. So you're limited yourself to 100 megabits per second, and you see this video exceeds it as an average bit rate, and you can trust me that there's scenes that are almost 200 megabits per second. That's going to buffer, and you may have to force a transcode, or it may transcode automatically. So local network infrastructure is very important. If you have an older TV, you might want to have a different streaming device on it. If you have a new TV, don't use the Ethernet port. Use your wireless network, because a modern TV will be able to connect to the 5.2 gigahertz wireless connection. And of course, if you're using an 8 or 9-year-old router, I recommend switching to a TP-Link router. They're inexpensive and they're just phenomenal on performance. So that's about it. This is transcoding, and this is just proving how powerful the iGPU is. I can do 5 of these same transcodes of this movie at the same time, and then a 6th stream will cause a couple to buffer. A 7th stream will cause almost all of them to buffer. And if you had an 8th through 10th gen Intel CPU, it would come with the UHD Graphics 630 iGPU, and you'd only push one more additional stream for this movie before things fell apart. So this is pretty much equivalent to those processors. Now, an 11th gen mobile i5 processor that you find in a lot of laptops, I've run out of client devices testing the same movie at 8 local client devices. I can have them all transcoding at once and still more power. But most of us don't need that type of transcoding power. And I think abbellie2 said they're the only user and it's at home. So the only thing that's important to them is to have good local Wi-Fi infrastructure. Or if you have an NVIDIA Shield, you can wire that to your router, and that'll be a gig connection back to your server, as long as you're using gig Ethernet cables. Right, so let me end this. I don't think there's anything I missed. Spacerex is your resources for all things Synology. If you're interested in Docker, the Marius hosting website is a great resource for getting Docker containers spun up either as a scheduled task or by installing Portainer first and using that. I don't think Marius actually runs Plex himself because, to be honest, his path statements, his examples of how to set up paths inside those Docker containers aren't close to being right most of the time. And in too many cases, he shows putting media inside the Docker share folder in the subfolder, whatever container you're running. That's always wrong. But I've got videos that can help with that, and I can make a video for anybody who's interested in setting Plex up as a Docker container on a Synology NAS. I helped a gentleman with a new Ugreen NAS get Docker going. That was fun. I don't have a Ugreen NAS, but we got it working. So I'm never sure how to end a video, so I'm just going to end it with a reminder. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm simply a Plex enthusiast with a lot of Synology knowledge, with a fair amount of Unraid knowledge to use it like I'm using as a Docker host only. And I can help you get a Docker container of Plex going under Ubuntu. I can help you with Docker via Kasa OS under Ubuntu. What else can I help you with? A plain Windows install, a plain Ubuntu or Ubuntu-based distribution of Plex. All easy peasy. The only thing I can't help with is a Mac. I'm a small-time guy on YouTube. I did make over 1,000 subscribers in March, and I'm now monetized, and I think I'll make about $350 a year with advertising just directly from YouTube. And maybe in a couple of years I'll double my size, and at that point I'll slowly start paying back my own investment in my hardware purchases. It'll never grow much bigger than it is now. It's too much of a niche area, and this is just my hobby. So again, everything is off the cuff. I don't set too much up. The only goal is to get you guys past any roadblocks and to teach you more about Plex, whether I'm a smooth YouTuber or not. So thanks for watching, and happy Plexing. And abbellie2, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If you have any questions, please let me know.